Evening. I'd like to call the East Bay Community Energy Board of Directors meeting for December 6th. I'd like to ask for the roll call.
Thank you. Albany, pardon me, there will be no representative from Albany today. Berkeley, Dublin.
Here.
Emeryville. Here. Fremont.
Here.
Hayward.
Here.
Livermore.
Here.
Oakland. Piedmont. San Leandro.
Present.
Union City. Community Advisory Committee.
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
You sure? 7? 7's quorum? All right. Please join Director Mendel in the pledge. Wherever the flag is.
Everyone please rise. Ready and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you. Public comment, time in which you can speak to anything that's not on today's agenda. I have no speaker cards. Anybody wish to speak? Good. Consent calendar from November 15th, which is the minutes. Huh? Item 5. Could I get a motion on the consent
Move
calendar?
approval.
A second.
Podolsky, Biddle, is there any objection to the motion? Motion passed without objection. Item 5, CEO report.
All right, thank you. So a couple items here. First is, as discussed at the last meeting, we have secured temporary office space for EBCE. On December 1st, we moved, and we are now located at 1111 Broadway in downtown Oakland. On the staffing front, I'm pleased to announce one new staff member. Melissa Brandt has joined us. Melissa's right here. As our Director of Regulatory Affairs, Melissa joins EBCE from PG&E, where Melissa previously worked for 10 years in regulatory affairs and long-term energy procurement. Melissa holds a JD from Columbia Law School and a master's from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. The next item, and is on the local development front. So we have...
That's on the agenda though, isn't it?
No.
On the local development business plan?
No.
No?
Local development business plan is on the agenda. This is a more just sort of general discussion item about procuring a local project in 2018.
Okay, go ahead.
So, we have really since the very beginning of my time here, talked about the really high priority we have of building out local resources and ideally building something out in 2018 around launch. And so as we start to bring on the capabilities at EBC to evaluate projects, to really assess what the cost implications of these projects might be on our rates, I think we're now getting to the point where we can actually start the process of going out and soliciting one or more of such projects. So what we are suggesting or putting out there as an idea, and certainly willing to or interested in discussing it, is putting together a set of parameters that we would put out in a request for offers for one or more local projects to be delivered in 2018. The kinds of parameters would be, one, of course, coming online in 2018 and being located in Alameda County. Clear workforce development requirements around where the workers are being hired from, what the salary and benefit levels are for those workers, and then very importantly that these one or more projects have minimal cost impact on EBCE's default rate, because we don't want to go out there and procure something that is going to hinder our ability to compete with PG&E on cost. So from a process standpoint, what we're looking at is developing a set of parameters over the coming weeks, developing a pro forma contract that has sort of key terms that we'd expect any counterparty, a developer, to sign with us, and then soliciting price bids from developers who can meet these parameters and then assessing those bids against what our expected costs are going to be with the help of our wholesale energy services provider, and then coming back to the board with a recommendation for hopefully one or more local projects that hits our job creation goals and workforce development standards, but also is priced in a way to allow us to maintain competitiveness. So I will see if there's any comments from the board before I go on to the next item.
Comments? Go ahead.
The next one is legislative engagement. So we did issue an RFP for legislative advocacy and strategy support. We received 8 responses. Staff met with all 8 respondents. Vice Chair Kalb met with a short list of candidates of 4, and we are in the process of, with Vice Chair Kalb, of having a discussion about the entity that we would make a final recommendation to pursue a contract with and work with for legislative engagement. And next is an item that going forward we're going to have as a standing item. It's really just the overview of progress towards launch, and touch upon all the different stuff that's happening at EBCE as we ramp up over the coming months. So first is data management and billing. We're in the active process of negotiating a final contract with the Sacramento Municipal Utility District on a parallel path. We've already kicked off our integration with PG&E so that the systems are integrated so data can start flowing from PG&E to EBCE. On the banking and credit services front, we're in active negotiations with both Barclays and River City Bank with the intention of bringing final contracts back to the board in January. On the wholesale energy services front, we have an item later today where we're going to be recommending to the board to pursue a contract with NCPA. We are very quickly after that going to be moving towards putting in place an energy risk management policy and developing a set of recommendations for how EBC can start procuring energy to start serving customers in the middle of next year. On the marketing campaign front, we're going to be having a presentation on that, so I'm not going to get in there. On the human resources and organizational development side of things, we're putting in place our retirement program, our 401A. We are very close to selecting a medical benefits plan to roll out to staff. We're assessing a variety of platforms, including a human resources platform, and assessing IT and accounting vendors to allow us to sort of move towards more independent operations from the county. And then additional project review. So we talked a little bit about a local project, continuing the process of reviewing the outputs of the local development business plan, and starting to have discussions with PG&E about their Oakland Clean Energy Initiative project, which was actually announced today that they plan to pursue a set of local behind-the-meter and front-of-the-meter distributed resources to replace the peaker plant that is in Jack London Square. So we are actively trying to assess how can EBC work with PG&E to do that. And we have entered into no contracts since our last meeting. There you go. That's it.
Any questions of our executive director? Seeing none, I have 2 speakers, Jessica Tovar, Barbara Stebbins. Jessica? Barbara? Victor? Uno?
Wasn't ready. Okay, this is item number 5, right? Okay. So East Bay Clean Power Alliance is happy to see local development in this report and a commitment to local projects at the onset. That is why we advocated for a local development business plan. We have been advocating for the last 3 years for a local development business plan with community choice energy advocates alongside almost 60 organizations in the community and a historic unity proposal with labor. We are concerned that,
This is on the agenda.
I'm sorry,
The local development business plan is on the agenda.
right, this is in regards to the report
All right.
on the early procurement. So we are concerned that this early procurement proposal would undercut our local development business planning, and we want to see projects such as this on a programmatic level so that the entire county can own and benefit from local clean energy. This request for proposals barely mentions the local development business plan. To sidestep the entire plan is a disservice to the community and our funds that were allocated for a study that were integrated into our guiding documents from the very beginning. Instead of this procurement, we support early adoption of the feed-in tariff program to start off with local development on a programmatic level. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara?
Phones, sorry. Okay, so East Bay Clean Power Alliance, as you just heard, we're pleased that the idea of early procurement of locally sourced clean energy is being proposed. We like that union participation is included as a requirement. In fact, the whole proposal sounds a lot like what is proposed in the feed-in tariff program proposed by the local development business plan team. We would urge the board to adopt an early rollout of that feed-in tariff program because it includes other important provisions to meet East Bay Community Energy's goals and would allow a local program to be launched with a locally sourced renewable energy project to roll out with the launch of the program. In fact, if the local development business plan had not been delayed, this wouldn't even be an early rollout. It wouldn't be early procurement. The feed-in tariff could have been adopted, and this could be an early admission into the feed-in tariff program. So we really think it's important that the local development business plan be concluded swiftly so that those recommendations that have come out of that plan that's highly supported by the community can in fact guide how we do local projects in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor?
Victor Uno, IBW. Greetings to all. Good to see the chair again. On the CEO's report, just some comment, and I do want to say that the CAC meeting on Monday was very fruitful. The new chair, or the temporary chair, did a great job in handling conversations. The IBW feels that and again, this is not to criticize, but it would be some suggestion in the leadership role of the CEO in clearly stating that the local business development plan is the action guide for how his early rollout that he proposed, which we fully support, it will be done as part of the overall guidance of a business plan to implement the principles on which this EBCE, the Energy Authority, was founded. It's got to be integral. And the reason why we raised this was that in the report by Centerpoint, in how they were going to promote marketing, it was really a terrible rollout plan. We felt that it was lacking, and it's in the comments of the CAC that will be made. But what was really missing was that any connection to the foundational principles of why our energy authority is different. And quite frankly, it was good to hear that the director is saying that an early procurement rollout will be a big differentiator from other CCAs. I mean, that's huge. So I just want to say we support that. We would love to see the business plan guide the rollout, and as well as be a part of it. And again, and how you market to always message why we are a different CCA in what we're trying to do here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay. Nick, are you done? Yes? Nick, you're done? Anybody else? All right, we'll go to item 6.
So item 6. So for item 6, I'd like to invite Ray Quigley from Circle Point. to give a presentation on the marketing marketing plan or update on the marketing plan to support our phase 1 rollout to municipal and commercial industrial customers.
Great, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me. As Nick said, I'm Ray Quigley, representing Circle Point, here to give an update on our communications and outreach. We have been busy here. How do I change the slides? I'll continue just until... So we have been busy on a number of activities, developing the communications and outreach plan, our branding guidelines, draft messaging framework and product branding, web content and design enhancements, and an ad campaign concept development. We had a focus group with members of the board and the CAC to get input on these preliminary materials. We also had a productive discussion on Monday with the CAC, and we'll be using their input to inform our future materials as well as adjustments to the materials we have produced so far to make sure that the brand materials really emphasize and reflect the uniqueness of EBCE, the unique values of bringing local jobs, local control, and community benefits. So as the next slide here, we have for you just a timeline showing where we are in the process and what we're working on now. We are going to have a relaunch of the website as we ready for customer communications, launching the social media strategies. We're lining up outreach activities and presentations to begin in the new year, and are producing animated video tools, other collateral that will really help as we raise awareness and brand recognition within our customers. And then the noticing that will be going out both pre and post launch. On the next slide, you'll see the product branding options. We presented a number of design options to the focus groups, and the participants were unanimous in this design direction. We tweaked the names based on staff feedback and really to create a differentiation between the two products. So here on the left, you see Bright Choice, which is the standard product that customers will automatically enroll in, and then Brilliant 100 for customers who want to double down on their environmental impact and choose to opt up to a higher, cleaner energy product. So these will be presented on the website and materials. On the next slide, you see just some ad prototypes for the commercial customer campaign. These are just using stock photography for now. We conducted a photo shoot with Alameda County, a diverse mix of Alameda County businesses, representing a range of customer business types as well as diverse demographics as well. And so we'll use those photos. So this is just stock photos for now, but we created this just to give a sense of messaging for this targeted customer type. So thinking about the benefits that will impact them on day one. But as I said, we're continuing to evolve these prototypes based on the CAC feedback and any feedback you may have. And we are simultaneously working on a brand storytelling campaign for broader customer awareness beyond the commercial outreach, and that will really get across those brand values that we're talking about and really be unique to EBCE. On the next slide, you see an example of collateral that we've produced for the commercial customer. We're calling it a business toolkit. It's essentially a tailored booklet that will be used for key account outreach. It's really tailored to the commercial customer and the benefits to them, as well as enrollment information, energy options, cost and rate information as those rates are set, and is going to be a useful guide that we use for outreach. On the next slide, you see just sort of the key points of our commercial outreach strategy that we've been developing. That includes that business toolkit as well as an interactive rate calculator that will help businesses really use their existing usage and rate information to compare what the different rate options will be for them, as well as window clings for more brick and mortar to put in their windows, web badges for customers to put for commercial customers to put on their website as co-promotion that this is a source of pride. We are going to do a lot of stakeholder group engagement. Right now, we're reaching out to business organizations, CBOs, multicultural CBOs, community organizations to line up presentations in the new year. And we'll also be doing materials distribution, hosting lunchtime webinars and breakfast forums to reach busy business owners and decision makers when they are available. And then EBCE staff will be doing a lot of key account outreach. So you're seeing a lot of high touch engagement with this for this leading up to this launch. On the next slide, you see, in addition to our in-person engagement, we're also planning a media campaign that will reach customers, these decision makers, really focusing on segmenting the channels on where they are. A broader campaign for the residential customers will use different channels. This one, we're looking at how we can segment and target business owners and decision makers, also looking at local print, business journals, and community newspapers as well that make sense, and then chamber sponsorships as another important part of our plan. So this last slide here is about how you can help. We know that you'll be very interested in getting the word out, as you already are, about EBCE. We'll be producing a partner toolkit with materials that you can help distribute through your channels, and making that easily available to you and city staff resources. And if you have ideas about local newsletters, willing to participate in op-eds, any in-kind advertising within your communities and jurisdictions, and then if there's willingness to support in presentations, we are grateful for your participation as well. Thank you.
Questions? Thomas.
How are you going to outreach to the senior citizen community to kind of get them on board with this, considering, this is, I suspect, going to be really new for them about making a switch? What's the outreach plan for that demographic?
Yeah, definitely. That is an important demographic, especially for the residential customer enrollment. For Peninsula Clean Energy, we produced a senior buddy guide, and that was a nice collateral piece where a tool that we used when we went out to senior centers and walked people through what their bill's going to look like, had that sort of one-on-one engagement so that they understood what they could do to prepare and what their choices are.
So I'm curious about different languages, and I don't see anything about that. And then I guess another thing that I'm wondering about is farmers markets, county fair, Solano Stroll. I could keep naming them. What are we doing to get into the community?
Yes, definitely. So our campaign will be multilingual, multicultural. We have, as a subconsultant on our team, Interethnica, and they are multicultural experts. We also have a diverse team at Circle Point. We, for all of our materials that we produce, we develop them in language, so things aren't just merely translated. And so messaging are culturally relevant and resonate within the communities that we're trying to reach. So that will be important for commercial outreach, as well as obviously the residential customer outreach. We have a number of for that advertising plan. We have a number of multicultural digital and print outlets that we will line up and place ads in. We've also done a lot around media relations, and we'll leverage Interethnica with their existing relationships on that. For your second question about farmers markets, that will be part of our in-person engagement, and having a EBCE branded booth and giveaway items, and that will be particularly important as we ramp up for the for the residential outreach, but we'll be beginning that planning now.
So how many different languages are you anticipating you're going to have to be, printing in?
Yeah, so we, on the website, we will have English and Spanish as far as the opt-up and opt-out frames for. We're also going to have 3 other languages. So right now we're looking at 5 languages for materials. Certainly some will be, some will be more translated, and depending on the need of in the target audience.
Yeah, as you produce materials, and Nick, I assume you're going to be distributing the, copies to the board, to the directors, mailing them to us, or at least I would like to see, even if it's a business development toolkit, please, at least for myself, I don't know if the rest of the directors would like copies. When we were engaging in the steering group, we were mailed, a little packet of flyers. I just like to review the materials in case it triggers anything about, hey, this person should get it or this business should get something, and then I can request more as needed. So I think as we develop materials, please get it out to us so we can, I know we're not going to review and proof everything. That's kind of a administrative nightmare, and it slows things down, but just examples would be great.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Director Paul. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Couple of quick questions. Your presentation is basically about our rollout when we flip the switch and try to get customers or keep customers. I think you maybe said this or alluded to this, but just to get confirmation, obviously there are a handful of other CCAs that have already done this, so I assume you've looked at what they've done, actually asked them what worked and what didn't, and that helped shape what you're proposing. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. And we helped launch Peninsula Clean Energy, so we were the marketing consultant to launch that. And we've talked with other CCEs as well to understand what works. And we did focus groups with Peninsula Clean Energy, and certain messaging was helpful to know within different audiences. And then just noting from what we talked about with the CAC, we will make sure that this is unique to EBCE.
Are we going to be doing some focus groups in preparation?
No, that wasn't part of our scope.
So there was a focus group that was conducted in October.
Yes, October.
There was a focus group that was conducted in October. Chair Haggerty participated, where there was review of some of the collateral that we're talking about here. If there is interest in additional focus groups, certainly, that's an option. I would say, given the real focus here is the commercial industrial launch. So if we think about a lot of the specific messaging, it's specific messaging that is targeted to resonate with business owners. We're sort of going on a parallel path to really start to think about what is the residential outreach going to be, but also branding. And I think one of the points that I wanted to make sure that we touch upon is we have to think about what EBC's brand is, and I think the brand is really where we want to reflect our values. The values of community, local development, local jobs creation, but some of the specific messages are the things that we have to communicate to a business owner day one. What are the benefits that are going to accrue to you, business owner? And that's really where it's important to think about things like savings, because if you're a business owner and you're thinking on June 1, this is going to change, why should I not just stick with the thing that I know and understand? Well, if you understand that it's going to be, this is going to be a $200 a month reduction in my electric bill, okay, I understand that, and then I also understand this brand that's delivering on these broader values.
I understand. I was just wondering whether it's the business sector or ultimately residential, if we're going to do focus groups with people from that sector. It's one thing to focus group us and people we know, but to go out and like a pollster would do and actually create some real focus groups of residents.
So we actually in the last week have started to talk about the process of putting together a more sort of in-depth survey, focus group survey of residential customers to test these messages and make sure that sort of the messages that we're developing are aligned with what resonates with that mass market rollout. And for the commercial, I think what we've been focused on is really leveraging the experience from the rollout in San Mateo County, where they did do focus groups with businesses.
Okay. Focus groups, I think, are generally, if done right, helpful. Just as my thought. And then a question, I think, more to Nick. I'm not aware we made a final decision, and maybe we haven't, as to when we offer, are we going to have 2 products or 3 products when we first release? I wasn't aware we made a final decision on that yet.
So we made
I think I prefer 3.
we made a final decision that we would at least have 2. So our focus has been we want to make sure that we have at least 2, and we haven't had a follow-on discussion about a third product. I think we've been focusing on let's make sure that we have the first 2, but if there's interest in bringing that forward, we certainly can make sure that's on the agenda for the next meeting and internally think through what that option would look like so that we have the opportunity to have a sort of robust discussion of what a third option would be.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Who else? All right. There's some speakers on this item. Dan, I'm going to have you calm so I can go get a glass of water.
Should I return to my seat?
Okay, we have Audrey and Jessica.
Thank you.
You get 20 minutes each. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, wonderful. Oh.
Quick, while he's
Try
out
to
of
keep
the
it to
room.
just 2 or 3 minutes if you can.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Audrey Ichinose, Berkeley Climate Action Coalition and the East Bay Clean Power Alliance. I submitted a comment to you, and it's been forwarded to all of you staff members on this topic. And so I'll touch some of the highlights of what I've submitted. And the general comment is that so far, what Circle Point has submitted for the marketing and Phase 1 outreach does not adequately satisfy EBCE's needs. And what are EBCE's needs? They are, 1, EBCE needs to show very clearly that it is not PG&E. It's important to indicate in any promotional material, even in video, which, really cherishes those seconds, however briefly, that over 11 cities in Alameda County have come together to form ECBE, a not-for-profit public agency to procure energy for the whole of the county. So that really needs to be made clearly, and it may not jive, as they say, with slick video or other promotional practices, but that has to be made, that point, that we are substantial and we are rooted in the community. I see my time is going, so I will touch on the others. ECBE needs to connect with Alameda County's many communities, and so far it seems like what they've submitted this shows a poor feel for the hardworking communities and EBCE's short and long-term goals. And I guess I briefly mentioned that hopefully the Circle Point has established point persons on your staffs to work with, to find out about your communities, and to set up, more convenient rollout of the second phase where it doesn't depend on print or video, but rather in-person meetings. Thirdly, EBC needs to make clear that customers have choices to make and opportunities to exploit. So I don't think that comes across clearly in what they've submitted so far. And fourth, EBCE needs its promotional material to be expressed in clear, quickly understandable, and jargon-free language. And as an example, I want to call attention to this Bright Choice Brilliant 100. What do you call this? It's
if you could just finish your thought.
Yeah, sorry, what?
If you could just finish your thought, the time's up.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it seems kind of nonsensical to call these choices bright choice when actually they're enrolling, it's an opt-out system, and they don't have choice for the base enrollment, right?
Thank you. Thank you very
okay.
much.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. No, that's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next speaker, please.
Hi, Jessica Tovar with East Bay Clean Power Alliance. We did submit some comments, I believe it was around November 13-ish, and it was to address, the initial PowerPoint that I guess Circle Point had put together. So I'm really glad that I heard, and I wasn't at the Community Advisory Committee meeting on Monday, but I heard that there was a lot of input around that, and that was a lot of what we addressed in our letter was the really emphasis on the unique attributes of the program, the jobs creation, the local build out, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that, I closed with in that letter was about actually having these things go through the Community Advisory Committee so that they can give input, which is really important. And again, even that the tiers that you guys are speaking of, and actually running that by the community and giving us time to talk about that, and going back to, the opportunity to have, to be able to weigh in, I can add a fourth tier. It'd be nice to have like a build out option where we're actually, people who really want to put money in the local actually can do that through this fourth option. So just thinking outside of the box in that way, how we can make this unique and really represent that best in the marketing. So yeah, I appreciate that was mentioned today by the representative of Circle Point. We want to see a lot more of that, highlight those unique attributes of our program. We really want to see more ownership. We want to make sure that people are really educated about this and proud of it so that they don't opt out and it is a successful program. And even if they can take a step further and actually invest more into it is even more incredible. But again, just to hammer that in, the community has to see these things and have opportunity to talk about it. You're going to get a lot more stronger ownership and innovation through the community. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions, comments, thoughts? All right. Go ahead, Al.
So I'm not going to pretend to be a marketing expert, but what I will say is that the corporate and residential ads should have a very different feel in my mind. The corporate folks, I think, sort of hitting them at the pocketbooks and focusing on saving them money and growing the local economy. Those are big things that are likely to appeal to business people. The ads for the residential side should be more, in my mind, emotional. Should hit you more at a gut level, and make you try, you can feel good about your power company, right? I know that worked on me 18 years ago when we deregulated and I signed up for, a greener power company. I think for residences, that's the message. And so it's very different. And so I guess that's my input. I would have preferred to see some business ads and some residential ads that sort of capture that now, so we don't have to hope and pray or wonder that the residential ads will be very different. So the sooner you can sort of show us some mock-ups of what that might look like and that sort of emotional grab, I think the sooner we can all start to feel more comfortable about what you're putting forward. Thank you.
I just sort of in reaction to that, the only point I'll make is I think that's exactly right. And there's sort of brand and aspiration and values, and that's really the message that deliver to the residential customers. And I think that's something that is very much in the formation stage. And I think that's where this community involvement in the message development is going to be so critical. And we're at the very beginning of that process. So. But we will be working, as we have things, we'll be bringing them forward as ideas to share and get additional input.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, we'll go to item 7.
So, item 7 is an informational update on the local development business plan. This is a real quick one. So the 5 items, right? 6 items that have been completed in draft form were issued for public comment on November 3rd. We have had webinars for all 6 of them. One set of webinars was last week, and the other was this past Monday. Those webinars are posted on the EBCE website. The comment period was extended to reflect the fact that we had some logistical challenges associated with getting the webinars scheduled. So comments are due by Friday. And at that point, we will quickly turn them around to get them on the website so people can see what the comments said. And the next set of draft documents should be out for public comment end of this year, beginning of next year.
Director Ramos?
Just a point of order.
Did I say that correctly?
The 2-color agenda that we have with the red things from the CAC meeting under item 7 is a cut and paste error. Those properly belong under item 10. The CAC did not take up the local development business plan. Time was tight, the venue closed early, but the CAC will be having another meeting in 2 weeks on or about December 18th. Everyone present, including the directors, are invited we're having a whole meeting just to give the community a chance to comment on the first 6 work products released from the LDBP.
Thank you. Anybody else? Director Mandel?
Were the I wasn't able to join in on the webinars. I worked during the day. So were they recorded, and are they available on the website for us to view now?
Yes.
All right, easy to find, I hope.
I will send the note out, but it's ebce.org, local development business / local development business plan.
All right, thank you. That was it.
Anybody else? All right, Barbara Stebbins.
So East Bay Clean Power Alliance would like to thank CEO Chassid for the opportunity to review the work done by the local development business plan team so far. In general, we are very supportive of all of the proposals for programs and policies that were posted that we could look at. In particular, we are very interested in and excited to see the proposal for the feed-in tariff. The community benefit adders are, we feel, a very good way for us to try and really bring out community benefit goals in local development projects. So we think that's really great. We like the collaborative procurement proposal, that we think that could be a real driver of local development. We also like the workforce standards, the workforce development portion that has workforce development proposals, as well as labor standards. We think those are all really 3 really important proposals that have been put out so far. We will be submitting comments that have some additional questions, some things we'd like to see in those proposals. Mostly, I think we want to make sure that the local development business plan can be completed in as quickly as possible, so there's enough time before procurement starts seriously for the program, so that the proposals being put out there by the local development business plan can be integrated into those procurement plans. And we're a little concerned about the financial arrangements, because now that they've been delayed until April, and they have done a number of great things like the webinars. If you didn't see the webinars, we would recommend that you certainly observe those, because they were very helpful in understanding the products that are being put out. So we're concerned that there's enough money left for them to complete their project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, informational? Anybody else? Guys are pretty quiet tonight. All right, going to move to item 8, it's a discussion item.
Okay, so item 8 is, this is an informational item as well, is an overview of, really a pretty high-level overview of a set of policies that EBCE is working, needs to put in place over the course of 2018. So the matrix that we developed is sort of sets 5 real major policy categories: administrative and operational, customer-related policies, financial fiduciary response priorities, power supply and procurement, and energy risk management policies. The focus with each of these policies has been to, one, enumerate them here, and then go through the process of evaluating best practices in these policies. So whether they be other CCAs that have customer data privacy policies that we feel are particularly effective, and on the energy risk management side, looking to entities like NCPA, other public power agencies that have really strong energy risk management policies that really ensure that the finances of their agencies are going to be protected. That's really the basis for the development of these policies. So the focus initially in terms of the development of these policies in January are those policies that are most relevant to having in place to support a launch in the middle of next year, and as well as sort of some of the key organizational policies that are needed for the agency as we staff up. Including things like procurement. What is our RFP process going to be? I know that's been a stated priority of the board, that we have clearly defined procurement, agency procurement, not energy procurement policies. And then some of the other policies like, social media policies of agencies, those are policies that we're going to be sort of focusing on in a phase 2 in the February, March, April timeframe. So I think from a feedback standpoint, if there are any specific policies that are not here that board members feel like we should be focusing on, or I think also, are there any specific policies that you have in your jurisdictions that you feel are particularly effective, be they RFP procurement policies, be they information technology security, data management security policies, be they procurement practices, working with the kinds of businesses that EBC will do business with. I'd be very appreciative of any of those recommendations so that we can account for them in the recommendations that we develop.
So I assume we have annual reporting requirements, financial reporting, similar to what cities have with their with the comprehensive annual financial reporting. So it's just, we don't need to state that in the policy. Is that something that's just that we're required to by law?
We're not. There's not a legal requirement, but we actually policy number 6 is program performance reporting. That program performance reporting would include, our annual audit, and all of our key financial, energy procurement, and other key performance indicators that we feel are important to track and report on an annual basis.
So when we issue our CAFR every year, we also do a PAFR. So it's a popular annual financial report. It's kind of a streamlined, easy to understand report. It's much shorter and condensed than the CAFR. I would like to consider maybe doing a PAFR as well. Something that the public can just grab easily and understand where we are financially and what we're doing. So just something to consider. I don't necessarily know if we need to set that in stone at this point, but just kind of see how it goes. That's a document that I find useful every year in Livermore.
So I was, one of the things that I had noticed was the HR portion of it, but then I noticed in note 2 you discussed the HR-related policies. When do you anticipate that being done?
The HR-related policies. We are in the process
have that
of...
up in the notes. Number 2, the list does not include employment and HR-related policies. So what quarter are you thinking you should have the HR-related policies done?
So we are in the process of drafting an employee handbook where many of those HR policies will be outlined. And so our challenge has been we have an outside HR firm that has had some bandwidth issues. And so I'm expecting that we have something in the sort of January timeframe, an HR handbook that we would bring to the board for review.
I just think that, you're bringing on people, and HR seems to be a hot button right now. So we should probably move as quickly as we can to develop that. Anybody else? Director Call.
Thank you. So I believe, Nick, you said that you contacted some of the other CCAs that already exist just to get a sense as to what types of policy documents they have. Have you looked at other regional agencies or other JPAs or munis or what have you to also check to see what they have, just to be as thorough as possible? Not that I want you to talk to 100 organizations, but
So certainly for the financial policies and the power supply and energy risk management policies, those are the two sets of areas where we have been talking to other munis and looking at the practices that they have in place. For the other policies, we have been talking initially with the other CCAs, but have been looking to, in some cases, Alameda County, the member jurisdictions for some of their policies as, potentially the best practice that we may want to adopt.
Okay, thank you.
Martinez, Director Martinez.
So I'll have to call out my own city as not having one. We don't have an environmentally profitable purchasing policy, but I'm pushing for that. And I believe every other city in Alameda County actually does have one. So that's something that I personally would like to see us look at for the agency.
All right. This was a discussion item, so Jennifer West, you would like to discuss it too?
And a North Oakland constituent.
Your mic is off right now.
Press this. There we go. Thank you. Hi, my name is Jennifer West, and I work at Stop Waste, which is an Alameda County Joint Powers Authority as well. And I just wanted to invite EBCE to take advantage of the fact that once a month we convene as part of the Energy Council a technical advisory group, which is a member of staff from each of your cities or in the county as well. And if there were relevant policies that you wanted, that kind of, we would be happy, of course, to have those shared as a regular kind of standing item, or certainly in our role as kind of a county collaboration, be happy also to share other policy development that might be relevant for the EBCE. So I just wanted to put that forward and would appreciate any other coordination. Thank you.
So just real quick while we have you here, Jennifer. So through ABAG, last time I was there was a pass-through, I think, from Bayren that transferred $11 million to Stop Waste or through to the Energy Council to do energy-related projects. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Stop Waste is the 9-county lead for multifamily programs. So maybe that's what you're referring to. I don't know the exact numbers, I'm sorry. But yes, it's a substantial amount for all 9 Berea counties. We are
Actually,
the implementers.
for all 9 Berea counties, is much more than that. The $11 million was for Alameda County alone. So I was just kind of curious,
But we're just the lead on the multifamily. So we do all the incentives for the 9 Bay Area counties for that one program. That's why you may have seen a number like that.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious to what extent, maybe we should have you down here or somebody from the Energy Council to do a presentation, because I'm wondering, you know, we have Alliance down here a lot talking about job creation and things like that, and I'm wondering to what extent do you guys do job creation and things like that. So maybe our executive director could get you on the because that's a substantial amount of money. Maybe it'd be nice to have you on the agenda to come down and talk about what is you're doing with that.
Yeah, we would be very interested in doing that, not only for Bay Aren, which is the 9 county, but also the East Bay Energy Watch, which is Alameda County and Contra Costa counties combined. We also are the administrators for that program, co-administrators.
Well, it had it broken down by each county, and that's why it really struck me because I was about ready to pitch a fit because I didn't see where Alameda County was getting any money, and they said, "Oh no, you got the largest amount. Look." And I went, "Wow."
So you could be correct, and I don't know the details if that was actually for Alameda County.
Maybe get them on the agenda so they can come down and do a presentation.
Yep.
Great.
So we could learn more about the Energy Council.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chair, could I, if I can, maybe a joint presentation with someone from the Energy Council, Jennifer or someone else, and somebody from Jenny Berger, somebody from the ABAG who's also working on energy issues regionally together, since they overlap so much, have a comprehensive presentation.
Yeah, like I said, I think it might be enlightening too for the, maybe the Alliance already is aware of them, but it would be interesting for everybody, I think, so.
Jenny Berg and I presented recently at the Contra Costa County Sustainable Committee, I think is the name of it, about actually the paper that I spoke of here in October that kind of spells out the different programs and how they interact and interface. So that would be great. We'd love to present.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. Yeah. Okay. So with that, if there's no other comments on this one, I'll move to item 9.
All right.
Then we're going to move to item 9.
Item 9. Item 9 is
I believe we're finally going to get to an action item.
It seeks the authorization, seeks to give me the authorization to issue payment to the CPUC in lieu of a performance bond as mandated by the PUC for the launch of our program. So this is the $100,000 requirement that the PUC makes of all CCAs to post a bond, and is a really critical kind of next step in our process to launch. So I ask for your support on this item.
All right, I have no speakers on the item.
I'll move it.
Moved by Cobb, seconded by Mendel. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion will pass without objection. Thank you very much. Move to item 10.
Item 10. So first I'd like to read a change of the title into the record. And the change should be, it should say, authorize execution of wholesale energy service agreement with the Northern California Power Agency. So for this item, I'd like to invite Supriya Renate, our Director of Power Resources, to present. And we have Dave Dockham from NCPA, the Associate General Manager, here to share a little bit of information about NCPA.
Thank you, Nick, and very nice to meet board members and members of the audience. I'm Supriya Renate. I'll be running procurement here at East Bay Community Energy. Just going to take 2 minutes to really talk through our process and how we selected our recommendation going forward for wholesale energy services. We released the RFP, as you all know, in mid-October. We had 5 successful candidates respond to our RFP, and we conducted a 4-stage interview process really centered around 12 different criteria related to how these entities can support Alameda County and local clean energy development, competitive rates, and really a mid-2018 launch. And so those 12 criteria were centered around those 3 kind of core ideas go forward. So our Interviews were conducted in 4 different stages. The first stage really centered around an in-person presentation from each of the candidates, where EBCE staff were able to ask some high-level questions. Stage 2 centered around asking each candidate to respond to 10 to 15 questions, written response, so we can really take those responses and evaluate against those 12 criteria. The third stage involved creating a short list, and that short list ended up being 2 different entities, the Energy Authority and Northern California Power Agency, who's here today. And then the fourth stage really centered around conducting extensive background reference checks with different agencies who worked with these 2 different candidates. I think we spoke to about 11 different municipalities, community choice aggregators, and other power resources consultants towards this end. And it's my pleasure to introduce Northern California Power Agency, who's here today. They drove from Roseville, and they have a short presentation for you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. We're really excited about the possibility of you approving the agreement with our organization tonight to provide wholesale energy services, and to help in your discussions and deliberations tonight, we thought a quick backgrounder on NCPA might be helpful. If you could go to the next slide. NCPA has been in the wholesale energy services businesses. This will be our 50-year anniversary. We think there's great alignment between the values that we have supporting member needs in the community. Purpose, not profit, and we have members as far south as Lompoc, as far north as Redding, and as far west as the city of Palo Alto, and then our members in the eastern Sierras, Truckee Donner, and Plumas Sierra Rural Electric Cooperative. Next slide. In terms of the services that we provide to our members, very similar to what's being proposed for East Bay Community Energy, portfolio management and optimization, transactional services, scheduling coordination, long and short-term planning, risk management and support, the real-time dispatch and monitoring, and other advisory services that our members have deemed needed. In terms of NCPA, we have, of course, developed our portfolio over those 50 years that we've been in service. So we started with a geothermal project in the early 70s, moved on to construction of a hydroelectric project, several natural gas projects throughout the 70s and 80s, and our members have been entering into a number of renewable energy projects on their own, which we schedule and settle on their behalf. So many landfill gas contracts, many solar projects, and we expect that as they continue to diversify their portfolios, that we'll be scheduling wind projects as well in the future. And I can tell you that in the conversations with our members, they're very excited about the opportunity to potentially partner with East Bay as you move forward and expand your footprint throughout the Bay Area here. You're surrounded by many of our members, including Silicon Valley Power, the City of Palo Alto, Alameda Municipal Power, the Port of Oakland, and BART. And so all of those entities are in the growing need and looking at projects and have opportunities, I think, for collaboration out into the future. So I think with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, we're very excited for the opportunity. We think there's great synergies between our organizations. We're both focused on the same goals, strategies, and objectives. So thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Yeah. So thank you, Dave. Thank you, Supriya. I will just maybe make 1 or 2 more points, and then we can move on from the item. I will say, when we were looking at potential partners for wholesale energy services, we were very focused on which one of these entities would put EBCE in the position to, in fairly short order, bring these capabilities in-house. I think we have the size and scale where doing portfolio management in particular, which is really the analysis of the market, a lot of the modeling and the forecasting is something we certainly can be doing here in Alameda County. It's just a matter of how quickly we ramp that up. And so the fact that NCPA has such a long track record developing its members and the training capabilities that it has. I think they were uniquely positioned to help support our growth as an agency and our ability to start doing things in Alameda County in a way that the other providers probably we're not able to do. I think another thing that's really important to say about the opportunity with NCPA is because you have so many different kinds of members, you're looking at you have a lot of flexibility. So as we think about our core values and the focus on things like local resources, distributed energy, advanced energy storage, and what have you, I think what we saw is your experience with utilities like Palo Alto and Silicon Valley Power that are developing a lot of local resources, local solar, was something that sort of showed us that you have those capabilities to support our intentions to pursue those kinds of projects. So, with that, Board, I ask for your support on this item, and certainly any questions, please.
Well, let's see if we're going to give it to you. Anybody want to ruin his night? So, I have a question for you. It appears to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is kind of like double, maybe like more than double the size of your business, your operation. By bringing us on. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, we are.
And other than a you are. If you could maybe reassure me, maybe go into a little bit more depth of how you're going to ramp up and prepare to bring us on.
Sure. So we have been looking critically at the provision of services. We were recently authorized to provide what I'll call fee-for-services activities to emerging generators that are coming off of PG&E contracts and to community choice aggregators that are forming across the state. And so as we evaluate each RFP that comes in, we ask ourselves, can we provide the services that are being requested with the staffing that we currently have in place? And so for each one of the proposals we've made, we've gone through a detailed analysis to look at what are they asking for, what are we able to provide in terms of the bandwidth of our organization, and are there sufficient resources in place to respond to all of the needed requirements under the contract requirements. And so we've now entered into, this is our fourth contract, so we're serving Merced Irrigation District. We're starting Placer County Water Agency January 1. We finished the integration activities to get that going. We're starting up Pioneer in February, and you will start in June. And in each of those instances, we have sufficient staff to support all of the activities that are going to be needed. As Nick indicated, there's a lot of activity on the front end associated with starting the business. Once the organization is up and running, it becomes more of a routine. We're scheduling your activities, submitting schedules to the Cal ISO on your behalf, and then settling the results of those transactions that are submitted. And we have a large staff with a lot of available free time. I like to use the fire department analogy. So we've got 12-hour shifts that we run in our scheduling department. You have to have those employees to participate in the electric markets, but they're not busy 12 hours a day. And so you can accommodate a lot of additional work within those 12 hours, and that's what we're doing in the provision of services on this fee-for-service basis. So I hope that helps answer some of the questions you have.
Okay. Anybody else? I think I want to go to work for you. So if you work 12 hours, how many hours do you wind up working?
The schedulers and dispatchers work a rotational 12-hour staff, 4 days on, 3 days off.
Anybody else? Thank you. All right. You guys know what's next. Maybe you don't. Any motion? It is?
Make sure that you have speakers.
Oh, I'm sorry. How could I forget? Victor. Apologize. I'm trying to get home.
I know you're trying to get home, and I'll try to get you there too. I want to say kudos to the Chassett in terms of his direction over the interview for this service here and the choice of NCPA. The IBW actually works very well with many of the entities and cities that are part of the NCPA family. Port of Oakland, quite frankly, when I was on the Port Commission, we had a great relationship with NCPA. They own generation too, which is something that is unique. They do great educational and lobbying efforts for the different groups that belong, the cities. And I want to say that this is a great opportunity to, if you could maybe turn around and look behind at this presentation. I'm sorry I didn't have the handout here. Every CCA has to file with the Energy Commission where do they get their power. And this is very important because we are forming a CCA that is going to be very different, we hope, according to our foundational goals. The investor-owned utilities, if you look at the orange, those are all in-state resources for their energy mix. Okay, so that's from California. Those other lines might represent out-of-state resources. So San Diego Gas, PG&E, Southern California Edison. You can see the orange is very, there's a lot of orange there, which means it's a lot of jobs and economic activity in California. For CCAs, it's a different story. And again, these are just facts and numbers. And you will see that some of the worst performers in terms of jobs and economic activity for Californians, the orange is somewhat there, maybe half, and this is Marine Clean Energy, it's Sonoma Clean Power, and then Lancaster. Lancaster is, in our opinion, just a terrible example of what we don't want to do, because there are no resources from California that are generating jobs here in California. So this is informative because for the energy resources that have to be procured, we would say, let this be your guide in what not to do, and then the goal, if we're going to be better than PG&E, we have to do that local, in-state at least, procurement, and we think that NCPA can actually have the expertise to help guide this energy authority for that type of procurement. We want to create, again, economic activity jobs broadly for Californians, but really for Alameda County also. So this kind of graph, we just want to share with you. We think it's critically important because we have these aspirational goals, but when you come down to actually having to file reports with the Energy Commission, the numbers don't lie, and this is what we have to be. We have to be PG&E in terms of jobs in California, jobs in Alameda County. So thank you. And again, Nick, congratulations on this great choice, or recommendation.
Well, based on that, Victor, I'm sure everybody will be happy to move the item now. No, there you go, Al, way to go. Al's jumping right in there. Dan seconds it, so there you go. I already got a motion and a second. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passes without objection. Item 11, staff announcements.
No staff announcements.
Yeah, you've kind of had your enough. Board member?
Happy holidays.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we're adjourned to January. Are we adjourned to January 17th?
We are adjourned to January 17th.
Happy holidays, everybody.
I don't know if I ever met you in a